And we're live with another Google Hangout on Bible Thumping Wingnut with Matt Slick. I am not the Bible Thumping Wingnut. I am me, Andrew Rappaport. I'm hosting for Tim, so we usually know that means anything crazy might happen. But so Matt, how you doing? How's your week?
My week's been interesting. We've had at the radio station. We had let's see. There's this band called Adams Road, and they're ex-Mormon missionaries who became Christians, and so they do this music thing. They're all highly qualified, very talented musicians, and they're one of them is a brother-in-law, so there's three of them at least. I think there's three or four, and so the mother was a BYU professor, and the dad, he told me, wasn't a bishop, but he was up there in some important area, and I forgot the name of it. But at any rate, they've all become Christians, and they're on my radio show this week at different times, and so that was entertaining. We had them over for barbecue and everything, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's it. Been working out, and didn't make martial arts this week, darn it, but that's okay. Went fishing. No, last week. Yeah, that's right. There you go. That's it. Summarization. Not much done. Oh, and Thursday I did a Thursday night I did a thing with some atheist losers. They were complete losers.
Well, I think with that,
no, he's there. He's one of the guys.
Invite Positive Godless if he would like to join, and it looks like he has a reaction to that.
How dare you?
Okay, actually, we get along fine. I know he knows I'm joking around and stuff, and he doesn't take it seriously. So that's why I said that. But he was one of the guys who did that.
So
actually,
I would like Positively Godless to explain what's behind him. The background behind you looks really cool.
You know, first off, after all the respect we give Matt Slick, and that's pretty rare in a non-believer area. He comes across and calls us losers.
Did I say loser? Did that slip out?
God,
sorry.
How would you do that to me?
Hey, you guys are all right. I actually said on the radio, I think the next day I said, yeah, I talked to a bunch of atheist guys, and for once, they were actually polite, nice, civil. It was actually a nice conversation. It's rare that I meet atheists. Actually, there's a handful.
I know, and I just came on here, because we aired the show today. So we air on Sundays, on God's Day.
Good.
And I came on here to thank you because I previewed the episode to make sure there's no glitches, that we had to work anything. You were fantastic. I'm actually a fan of Matt Slick, and I'm going to be massacred by the atheist community. Go ahead.
Could you do me a big favor? My wife's going to be back in a few days. Could you call the office and just tell her how great I am?
I will.
Because call the office and say, just how great and awesome I really am. Just don't tell her you're an atheist, otherwise it'll ruin it. But
I think that I should tell her I'm an atheist, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, really?"
Well, no, it's okay, because when you call and say wonderful things about Matt, she will correct you.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I'll tell her to go watch the episode of ours, so I can get that plug in. But no, I want to say that for the non-believers that are watching, if you watch our episode and watch how honest he was, he's not a liar. He's not dishonest. He's not deceitful. He is who he is. And if you actually have a conversation with him, you'll understand that. And that's what I really wanted to get across, and we're really successful. And what shocked me the most, Matt, and if I could say this, is when I wanted to ask the question about gay America, and that was my controversial question, you cut me off and you said, "What, my daughter?"
Oh.
And I was like,
yeah.
And if you just set aside his belief and just look at a person who's struggling with the relationship with his offspring, he's a person. That's what it boils down to. He's a real human being who's going through the same crap that you're probably going through in your lives. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a fanboy.
Wait, can we really call Matt Slick human?
Yes, I am. I absolutely am. He was wonderful, and just that moment alone, and then I don't know. I can't thank you enough for being you, and I hope that because we get a lot of trolls, and I think I told you that we get trolls on the atheist side who call our show crap because we treat people with respect and we don't debate people.
Well, there's nothing wrong with debate. There's as long as it's civil and when if you have Scott, if you have a link for that, I'll put that into the comments so that people can find that. Just send that in chat, and I'll copy that over so that afterwards people can go and find that.
Well, I appreciated you guys because even though we're diametrically opposed on some important issues, you guys weren't rude and you weren't insulting, and it sounds like an insult when I say this to other atheists, but it's just rare to find people who can be civil. I do know a few other atheists who I can hold good conversations with, so it was a nice surprise. I didn't know what to expect, but it was a nice surprise. And the reason I cut you off about that thing, I don't want anybody to think I was trying to be rude to you, because the way you were delivering that question, you're being very careful. And I thought, oh, this is going to be about my daughter. And before you finished it, I said, about my daughter. I was just trying to help you out. And then you said, no, it's about the gay marriage. And then that's what that was. So I wasn't trying to. What I was trying to do is make it easier for you.
No, and it's funny because I wasn't going to bring your daughter up because I didn't get a chance to talk to you privately to say, to go, can we say this? Can we not say that? I wanted to really be careful because family's family. Family's a very sensitive issue. Yeah. And I want to be respectful and not attack that. And I did put the link in the side chat, by the way.
Yeah, I see it. I'm going to put that in.
I do appreciate that, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, that's another thing. He called me Kevin Bacon.
Because you look like Kevin Bacon.
Who is more insulting? Is it the non-believer or is it the believer? I don't know what's going on.
Who's insulted, Kevin Bacon or you? That'd be the question.
Well, I don't know. What's Kevin Bacon's career like right now?
So he's doing pretty well.
All right, good. Well. Then I'm doing well too.
All right.
So
what's the name of that podcast or that show?
It's Positively Godless.
You gonna hang around for a while, or you got things to do?
You have any questions for Matt?
No, I don't, because we've asked a lot of questions. We're going to do another episode with him, and I just wanted to just respectfully say thank you again. And we had a great time. It got a little uncomfortable with the gay marriage issue with my other co-host, but we got through it. And
Jerry, that was him. I got to hand it to him. We really, we butted heads, but it was a polite butting of heads. But I have to say that he was gracious afterwards, and I was kind of shocked by that. But that was nice.
Yeah, that's what we try to do, and when we say we have guests in our, this is our house, and we hope that the guests take off their shoes and wash their hands and stuff like that. We have never had any guest of ours of the opposition that were rude or smug or arrogant or a liar or fundamentally stupid. Never.
Well, I'm called all those, but
I know.
Maybe the next show I'll try to live up to it.
No, don't do that. Be you. And I think that's why we get as much flack. Not Roberta flack, but just flack.
Yeah.
Regards to our show. So.
Yep. I was just honest. That's all. That's it.
And I appreciate that. With that said, I'm going to let other people get on the show, but I wanted to come on and just say thank you very, very much. I really mean that. So if you're ever in the Minneapolis area, give me a call if you need a place to stay, and you have a place to stay.
If I about once a year I go through. If I remember, I have a layover, whatever, long enough, I'll call you.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Contact you. Okay.
All right, I'll let you guys get to the meat and potatoes of this. I was just a salad, so.
Well, thanks for coming in, Scott. We did post a link to that.
Cool.
So if anyone's watching on the YouTube channel, there is a link to the Positively Godless podcast that was mentioned. So.
Yeah, I gotta say, these guys, seriously, it's like a pat on the back fest, but they really were polite, and it was a refreshing thing to encounter some atheists who weren't vindictive and had some, so to speak, evil motives and mockery and stuff like that. So it was nice. It was nice to just talk to guys like guys, and we disagreed and we talked, and that was nice. So.
Yes.
Good.
All right. I'm going to go.
He's still here.
Before
You
someone
didn't
starts saying
explain
more
the background. What's behind you? You got.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
That's just my ego area. That's just where I play and make music, and
and you got a nice blue light on.
well, it will change colors in a matter of moments. So just wait a while. It changes. It slowly changes colors and all that fun stuff. So
Cool.
it's I'm a Prince fan, so this is my own little Paisley Park.
Wow.
So
you've just dated yourself, by the way.
Of course I did, but I live 10 minutes from Paisley Park, so I can still call it that. So, all right, I'm gonna log off, but I'll talk to you guys later.
Well, it was nice having you.
Likewise. Goodbye.
All right, so I don't know if the Meows Cat has any questions. I don't know if anyone else wants to post if they want to talk with Matt. I want to try to go in order, but next up that came in the chat was the Meows Cat. So do you have any questions for Matt?
Yeah, sure. My name is Vincent. Hi, just so you know.
Vincent, can you get closer to your mic by chance?
Yeah, unfortunately, is that a little bit better? I guess.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry, it's I've got my mic turned up all the way, so it's all I can do, I guess. But I do have a little bit of a comment and then maybe a question as well for Matt. But I do want to say that in reference to what you guys were just talking about with polite atheists and whatnot, how rare they can be, I'd say that's a little bit more of a product of the internet than anything else. Because the internet, it can be very impersonal. It can be text on a screen. So I think that it can very easily turn into you just responding to text and not actually thinking of the person as a person. So I think that can be very easy to do. And also, I'd say that when someone's on a screen and they're speaking to you, it can sound more like they're a celebrity. So it's something you can, or someone you can pick on more, or something like again, it's depersonalization, I guess. So I mean, I've personally met atheists out there in the real world, away from keyboard, and had them not be as I don't know, derisive, I guess maybe would be a good word for it. But yeah, and I guess because I definitely don't want people to think that we as Christians only think that atheists are just really mean all the time. But I do have a quick question, I guess. Well, I don't know if it's really going to be quick because it's something that I have run into. Speaking of atheists, I've run into a couple different times where, and I'm kind of trying to think through the concept that they have kind of brought forth to try and understand their side of things. I've heard of it in a couple different ways, but it's essentially trying to separate reason, I'll use what they used as kind of the separation, trying to separate reason from logic. Although I would probably kind of correct them and say they were trying to separate cognitive faculties from logic or something along those lines. So I guess, have you encountered that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I did once where an atheist tried to do that, separate reason from logic, and it really confused me. I said, well, are you saying if you're separating them that reason then is not logical or logic is not reasonable, or are you defining them in ways that I'm just not familiar with? And there's a separation, and we really didn't get anywhere. So that was about it for me.
Yeah, it's kind of my thought. Yeah, it's kind of my thoughts on it too. Where I mean, because the way that I see things, like laws of logic are kind of like the principles by which reason follows. So if you're not following the laws of logic, you're being unreasonable, right. And you're, I guess being unreasoned. Your cognitive faculties aren't working in the proper fashion.
Right.
But like I said, I've heard, at least a couple atheists who were trying to separate those and say that, and I think that it's a way of trying to get around the presuppositional argumentation of like pushing things just a little bit farther back and try and separate logic from their ability to reason. So I mean, it just seems to be something that when we're using presuppositional arguments against them, that's the only reason why it came up, I guess. And possibly also one other thing that I'll mention, which is kind of a similarity, was it was a few weeks or a month ago or something like that, where someone was trying to say that there was a difference between laws of logic and logical verities, or something along those lines. And again, that almost seemed like the same kind of thing, where they're trying to separate one thing from another when they're inextricably connected.
Yeah, I don't know. What you're going to find, what I encounter sometimes is, for example, presuppositionalism really just trounces atheism, and they don't like it. Well, you're going to find occasionally an atheist or two or three who are going to learn a lot of logic in order to try and refute it, and then they're going to see ideas and then just throw stuff out at you, and you're going to be like, what? I don't know what that is. And then they're going to mock you. That's what I've had happen. Oh, you don't know about this or that, and they've been studying it in depth just for that one thing, So I don't know. I just know that they're going to keep trying, and then when they present stuff, we'll study that and rise to the occasion, demonstrate that that's not going to work, and then move forward. But I don't know, so I don't know. Varieties of logic. See, not varieties, but verities.
Yeah, verities. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking on Google. I don't see verities of logic anywhere. Logical verities. I don't see it. So, what are they saying?
Yeah. Well, what I kind of possibly maybe understand what they were trying to say was that, like, I think they were just trying to say that, like, the objects of the world are the verities. Like A is like a verity of, I don't know. I don't completely understand it either, and I was going to ask them about it, but then I kind of was like, wait, I don't know. It just didn't seem to be something that I don't know, get much out of, because in an explanation that they had given, it kind of went around in circles and was trying to explain laws of logic as different from rules of logic, as different from verities of logic, or verities that are principles that logic is based upon. I don't know, it just seemed very convoluted and circular.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Got to ask them, because I'm looking and I don't see anything. It's just not coming up. So
I couldn't find anything either.
Yeah.
Well, if you do, I'll say this on the first thing, though, that you mentioned, just because we would want to be fair. It's not just professing atheists that act brave behind a computer.
Oh, yeah.
I think you see this with a lot of people, that behind a computer screen act very brave, and then in person act very differently. I know that for my own self, I hate typing. And so I'm usually on my phone when I'm on Facebook, and people that know me only from Facebook seem to have a different opinion of me than people that talk to me face to face, because I'm very short, very terse on Facebook, and that seems to rub people as if I don't take the time to explain things and finesse the language, and then I hate proofreading, and I usually need to, but. So I think that we have things like that where we're living in a different age where people have to be aware of online speech versus interpersonal. There are differences there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I was by no means saying that it is only the atheists that fall prey to that. I'm definitely of the mind that the reason why cyberbullying is such an issue is because it's easy to type something in a little comment box and not think about the other person who's going to be reading it on the other end, because all you're seeing is text. Or, watching a screen, like I was saying, like watching something on TV, well, that's not real. It seems it's a lot more depersonalized on the net than it is, in real life. So yeah, no, I was by no means saying it was only the atheists that fall prey to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of that as well, and the atheists that I encounter usually are going to be hostile. because that's the ones I encounter. But I will say this, that I have noticed an increase in the past 5 years of the hostility to Christianity from atheists. I've noticed it in the circles I've been running in for 15 years. Within those circles, I've seen an increase. So there's something's going on.
Well, yeah, I've even heard, and this is kind of going back to a different topic that has been in discussion for the last couple of weeks, that since the SCOTUS decision occurred, and I guess making gay mirage, a thing.
Gay mirage.
I stole that from Apology of Radio, so don't take that from don't take that as me.
I like that, gay mirage.
Yeah, because it's a mirage, but no, it's not actual marriage. Anyway, we won't get into that. What I was going to say is that since that, I've seen, at least in one or a couple different locations, where people have commented on even like just street preaching. People have become a lot more hostile as a result of just the SCOTUS decision, because now they're like, oh, well, now we've got the law on our side, so now we can really come after these Christian people who this and that and the other thing, and they just want to. It's almost simple. Well, I'd almost say it's akin to what we were talking about with the internet, where now it's like, okay, we can depersonalize now the Christians a little bit more because now the law is on our side. They're less of a person now, so we can say, haha, your beliefs are illegal now or something. So.
Well, it's actually interesting if you listen to the way they talk. They often talk about, ever since that, is if someone doesn't accept same-sex marriage, they shouldn't have the right to vote.
Yeah.
I just find that. So, I mean, they're throwing tolerance out the window, throwing equality out the window.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm actually of the mind that, and I can't remember why I thought of this, but because I like analyzing things and going through things, and as I was doing that, I came to this thought that I'm like, wow, eventually it's going to be the Christians who aren't going to be able to get legal marriages, because they're going to be asking us, well, do you accept marriage as in all legalized marriages? And if you go, no, I mean homosexual marriage, that's not a marriage according to the Bible. Oh, okay, well then you can't get a marriage here legally. See you later.
Yeah, yeah. We don't need the state for marriage, but yeah, I could see that happening too. They'll give you a license.
But I guess the reason why I was saying that is because the reasons for, or I guess not all the reasons, but some of the reasons why the LGBT community were going for same-sex marriage was because they're like, oh, well, we can't get inheritance laws, we have medical insurance issues and all this other stuff, so let's just go ahead and redefine marriage, not marriage equality, redefine marriage in order to get these things. Well, eventually then, we are going to be the ones, the Christians are going to be the ones without those things, because we're not going to be able to get a quote-unquote legal marriage from the state, because then we're going to have to accept homosexual marriage or be left out of marriage, just like tax exemption for Christian churches, schools, organizations who won't say, yes, I accept homosexuality as something. So I think it's going to go right along those same lines.
Yeah, that's a good insight. I didn't think of that, but you may have a point there.
Yeah, because what stops the government from allowing, if you have a partner, you want to call it a partner, to have all those inheritance rights? And even that, you can put a will together that allows for other people to have the inheritance. You don't have to be related to them. So I think they're making the issues because the real goal is against Christianity. And I want to ask you, Matt, since we're on this topic, I wanted to ask you to get your reaction. So I noticed that, and I don't know if you've been following this case with the bakers in Oregon, who basically, for others who may not be aware, so you have a Christian couple, that two women come in, they want to get a cake made for their wedding. The couple says, we won't do same-sex weddings, and so they were sued. The argument in the lawsuit was all based on they had to pay like $335,000. I think it was
$135,000.
$135,000. That's what it was. $135,000 to this lesbian couple for suffering emotionally because of the lack of service. Then there was a gag order put on this couple, so they could not go to the media anymore. They could not raise support. They can't publicly talk about it. And then I noticed this week, after the gag order was in place, that the media came out and apologized for saying that that this court case was about a lack of services for same-sex marriage. The issue in the court was because they gave the lesbians couple's home address. And now the Christian bakers cannot respond any longer because there's a gag order. So to me, what it seems like is that, and I'm curious your reaction, Matt, because what it seems like is now that they got the gag order in place, so this couple can't correct anything, the media is now backing up and going, "Oh no, this Christian couple wasn't attacked for persecuted because of, their beliefs. They gave out the address of the couple, and that's what they did wrong." The court case was all about suffering, not being able to sleep because they were feeling they couldn't trust people because they had trust friend issues, and all this stuff that was related to suffering over the service being denied. I don't know if you had seen that.
I knew about that, but I didn't know about the last part, that now they switched it. They're moving the goalpost now, saying it has to do with something else. Well, it's just the left. It's the left's deceptive tactics, and I just think it's interesting is let the left be in control and they silence the opposition. That's how it works. That's what they do. Yeah, tolerance for all, equality for all, but you better keep quiet while we're telling everybody what tolerance is.
All right, so we have next that came into the chat room was Joe. I don't know if you have a question for Matt. If so, just unmute your mic and feel free to ask.
Yeah, hi. I'm from Australia. So
hey, how you doing?
I guess I classify myself as a searching atheist. I want to try to find the truth.
Okay.
And I guess one of the things I've been sort of struggling with is, and trying to ask Christians about is, what does God benefit from having us believe rather than being physically present on the earth all the time? Like, is it the belief which is more important, or is it getting to know God and wanting to worship Him? Because, like, if God was like Obama, where you could see Him, talk with Him, get to know what type of person He was, or get to know His nature and say, do I like this person or not? Do I want to worship Him? Is that, would that be more beneficial if God was actually like that all the time? I don't quite understand, what does God benefit from?
What is the benefit to God?
Yeah, or what's the benefit to God for us not, but for just being, but for having to rely on believing Him alone?
Well, benefit to God would imply a lack in Him, that He has to have something external to Himself that benefits Him, and so that's a problem. So we can't, in Christian theology, God has, I'll type the word in, it's aseity. Hold on. And what that means is eternal self-sufficiency. So before the universe was made, in Christian theology, God existed forever. There was no forever, but we have to use the word forever. It's related to time, but no time, whatever. So He existed forever, and He was always what He was, and then He decided to create the universe. So, I understand what I sympathize with what you're trying to ask. It's a difficult question to ask. Let me just kind of shoot around it a little bit. Maybe I'll hit the mark that you're aiming at. And so technically, there's no benefit to God, okay? But what would be potentially some reasons that God would want to create? Well, are you a dad by any chance?
Yes.
Okay, so you love your kids, right? And you love giving to them because that's what kind of love does. And I'm sure you're a good dad and discipline them when you need to, when you love to give them things and see their excited faces. It's just nice, It's just well, we're made in the image of God, and here's just my opinion. Don't take this as this is what Christians think. But I was working through the scriptures and working on this question. And so I noticed in John 3:16, God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. In John 15:13, Jesus says, greater love has no man than this, but that he lay his life down for his friend. So love, one of the attributes of love, is sacrifice and giving. It's other-centeredness. Well, if God is love, as 1 John 4:8 says, well, he can have and we have the doctrine of the Trinity, the intertrinitarian communion forever. But at any rate, one of the aspects is sacrifice. And so I got thinking about it, and I'm going to throw this out, and you know, maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. The Bible doesn't tell us. I'm just thinking. If one of Jesus says the greatest act of love, the greatest act is self-sacrifice. Greater love has no one than this, that he lay his life down for his friend. Jesus, according to Scripture, is God in flesh, so he's stating the greatest act of love. If God is by himself, then the full manifestation of the greatest act of love would need a creation and a death of himself in it by which that could be accomplished, and so that the others would receive that benefit and that love from God and that sacrifice from God. And so I thought that through years ago, and I wonder if that might be something to do with what God has and needs or whatever, I don't know, without violating his aseity. But I don't know if that helps at all. Does it? Is it a possibility?
Yeah, no, that's certainly, very thought-provoking, because I've often wondered myself is why did God create us? What was the point of him creating us? What was, and I can see what you mean. I mean, I try to think to why did I have children? Why did I choose to have children? And I guess that's what I try to equate. That's the similar thing to maybe why God chose to have us is the reason why I chose to have children.
Right. Well, actually, there's a Bible verse that says why he created us, and I'm trying to find it. It's in Isaiah. I want to say Isaiah. Let me check. It's been a while. Isaiah 4. That can't be right. Isaiah 42:7, 43:7. Let me just check it one more thing. But he says specifically, there it is. Isaiah 43:7. Everyone who is called by my name and whom I have created for my glory, whom I have formed, even whom I have made. He's created us for his glory. Well, I thought about that as well. Why would he create us for his glory? What does that really mean? What does it mean to bring glory to God from the Christian revelation perspective? Well, one of the aspects of it is that we talk about how good God is, how holy he is, how loving he is, how just he is, how patient he is. And what we're doing is praising him up because there's nothing better to praise. There's no one better. He's it. He's the object of perfection and holiness, and so he's worthy of being praised and talked up. And that's to glorify him. And it would make sense that creation would have to be for his glory to demonstrate his greatness, his wonder, his holiness, his power, and all that he is. Now, a lot of people on earth would say, well, how does a rape glorify God? Well, I could give a theological analysis and say rape glorifies God in the sense then that everybody knows it's wrong, but how do you justify it being wrong without God? What you're doing is appealing to the righteousness of God's character to say that such a thing is wrong. And in that, it brings glory to God that you're recognizing what is right and wrong. But then we get into why does he allow it? That's because of sin in the world. We get into other tangents. But for the glory of God, that's why he created us, and I think also to express his love upon us and to redeem those in the intertrinitarian communion whom the Father gave to the Son for the redemptive work. Because here's something else that you're not going to hear too many Christians say, and I think it's about time I say this publicly. I've been thinking about this for a while, that, I just lost it. I cannot believe I just lost it. Wow. That does not happen very often like that. Here we go, boom, and I lost it. I have no idea what I was going to say. It's a new thought. What were we just talking about? Crud. Maybe God doesn't want me to say it.
You were talking about aseity, and you're talking about why God put us here with as far as giving glory to God.
Yeah, there's a connection. There's something I've been thinking and wondering through lately. It doesn't come up very often, but when these certain factors come together, that's where the thought is, and it was right there, and I lost those thoughts. But it had to do with the aseity of God, the sacrifice of God, and with the Father. We came. Oh, okay. I think I remember what it was. You want to hear too many Christians? Oh, yeah, I remember now. This is not an issue of between God and man. It's an issue between God and God. And what I mean by that is in the intertrinitarian communion, the three persons of the Godhead, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, who've existed forever, there is within that what we call the economic trinity, the functions of each person. The Father elected certain people for salvation and gave them to the Son for safekeeping. This is why Jesus says, I'll be done in about a minute here, he says in John 6, 37 and 39, for this is the will of him who sent me, that all he's given me I lose nothing, but raise it up on the last day. So all that he's given me, and also John 17:9, Jesus says, I ask on their behalf. I do not ask on behalf of the world, but of those whom you have given me. And I started noticing this phrase, the ones you've given me. There's a group given to the Son by the Father for safekeeping. So it's got me to start shifting my thinking a little bit to wonder if this whole thing is about the Trinity, creation and everything, that it's a promissory covenant in the intertrinitarian communion of which creation is a manifestation of that. A lot of times people think that it's all about us. It's all about what God wants with us. I'm starting to shift, and I'll continue to shift probably, but we'll see which way I go. But I'm starting to shift and say, no, it's about the Father and the Son's eternal communion relationship and the covenant they established, and creation's a manifestation of that. So that might be another reason to do with the issue of why he created.
You're sounding more and more dispensational every day.
That is not dispensationalism.
Sure it would, because we would put that everything is for the purpose of God's glory, not man's salvation.
That's Reformed theology. Anyway, I don't know if that helps or not.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Now, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You said you want to find the truth.
Yes.
You want to know if God really does exist or not?
Yes.
So, can I run you through some stuff really fast?
Sure.
Okay. Do you know what truth is?
Well, I guess when I say I want to know the truth, I guess I want to know, I mean, my thoughts are there's either God or no God. I mean, the universe we're in is either completely material or there is supernatural aspects about it. And I guess the truth is one of those.
That's correct.
I guess that's what I mean by truth.
That's correct. And both cannot be true. Only one can be true.
You can't have God and no God at the same time.
Very good. So if one of those options was disproved as being true, in other words, it was shown that it cannot be true, then by default the other one is validated as being true because you can't get rid of both options.
Yes, I know. I mean, I've sort of read this argument before, and you know, I guess
okay,
it does sound plausible. I guess I'd like to. I guess what I'd like to see is positive proof rather than necessarily proof by default. That's all. I mean, ideally.
Okay, well, the positive proof, I'm going to give you the shorthand version of stuff. We could discuss this for an hour. The positive proof is, in my opinion, what I would see is that without God, nothing makes sense and nothing works. That is the proof. If you presuppose God's existence, everything makes sense. If you don't, nothing makes sense. The proof of the transcendental being is not found under a microscope. It's not found in a backyard. It's not found under a rock, because that's the physical realm and God is outside of it. So we have to look at those things that are outside of our realm of mere physical examination that the scientific method is limited to. So science would look at how fast that rock drops on Earth versus the Moon versus Pluto, and devise a theory of acceleration and things like this. But that has nothing to do with whether or not God can be proven in similar means, because he can't. So God is behind the scenes. And I don't want to get too philosophical, but there are evidences for him in the kind of evidence that would be about him. If he's transcendental, we need transcendental evidence. And this is one of the things that a lot of people, atheists, I think, make mistakes. I'm not accusing you of anything, but they'll say, prove to me using science that God exists. Well, that's not what science does. Science only examines the physical realm, and by definition is atheistic. So you're saying, they are saying, I want you to use atheistic principles and methodologies to show that atheism isn't true. That's essentially what they're doing, and it doesn't work that way. So I have to say, no. It's like me saying to the atheist, I want you to use a scientific method to discredit transcendental evidences of being outside the universe. Well, they say that can't do that. It works both ways. So we need to see, are there intrusions into our world of a transcendental nature, of a being who is not limited to space and time, and who can give us, for example, universal truths. This is why I asked you what truth is. So this is a cup. It's got a low on juice here. So this is a cup with juice in it. That's a just true statement. This is my earpiece for phones. This is it's an earpiece. It's a true statement, right? And here's a book, right? This is a booklet. It's a true statement. Truth corresponds with actuality, but it's also an abstraction. It occurs in the mind. There are no minds, there are no truths. What you're looking for is the ultimate truth. You want the ultimate answer. You're looking for the ultimate truth. But doesn't it imply that an ultimate truth requires an ultimate mind? I'm jumping there, but I can connect the dots. But there's an application to the universality of truths that you take for granted and don't know you take for granted, that are universally true and are transcendent in their nature.
Yeah,
and that would be evidence for God's existence.
I mean, I've certainly have heard those discussions before, and I find them quite fascinating. So, you know, I guess, I mean, the other thing I guess I'm also searching for is to see whether I want to worship God, whether God is the type of person I want to worship in the first place, which is, I guess, that's the other thing I'm struggling with, is if God exists, and then is he a type of person or a type of character I actually want to worship?
Well, that's an interesting statement, because is God, let me write this down, the kind of God you... and what you're saying is, now let me put words in your mouth and exaggerate, okay? So I'm doing it on purpose just to make the point. You're not doing this, but you are doing this, and that's what you're saying is, I'm going to judge God by my standard, whether or not he's worthy according to what I feel, what I want, whether he's okay to be worshipped, because my standard of morality is the true standard, because otherwise he has to submit to my standard, which is ludicrous, otherwise he wouldn't be God. So for you to say...
Oh, I agree.
And
I know, exactly. I know what you mean. It does... I mean, I'm using God's standard to judge himself, which I know, which is I can understand. It sounds odd, but I guess in my heart, that's the way I feel. So it's hard to, you know, I guess I want to worship God because he's worthy of worship. That's, not because he commands me to worship him. I want to worship God. I want to fall in love with him, and I'm struggling to fall in love with him.
Well, you know something, I don't know if you know, I have Asperger's, right? I really do, even though some atheists are saying I don't. I've been diagnosed. I went to a psychologist. I had to pay him the money. I had his sessions and the whole bit. All right. So I don't feel some of the things a lot of people feel as much as a normal person would. So when you say you want to love God all the more, etc., that whole idea, I absolutely, completely agree with you. I want that more and more too. Sometimes I I'm more here than here. And that's just the way I am. You might be like that. You might just be more intellectual than heartfelt, but then maybe not. But I'll try. I would suggest you try this. Read through the New Testament. Read about Jesus. And just see, do you want to worship him? I mean, is he a man that, as an atheist, you might say, well, the miracles couldn't have happened. This couldn't have. Just read through. If it was true, is this the kind of person you want to worship and serve? Because think about this. Think about this really quickly. Is that if God exists, for us to see him would be impossible. Because, like, I'm looking at you on a screen. My eyes are seeing you because my eyes work in that spectrum of light, that little spectrum of light. Well, what does divinity look like? I don't know. How much does it weigh? I don't know. What color is it? I don't know. Divinity doesn't have that kind of a quality. It doesn't have that kind of a thing. It's something other than what we are. The only way for us to see divinity would be through the manifestation of humanity. That's exactly what we see in the person of Jesus. If we were to go back to Jerusalem back 2,000 years ago and see Jesus, what we would be seeing is a man. Within him would be the divine nature. But within him, we would see the manifestation of that divine nature. We would see him walk on water. We'd see him command a storm. We would see him heal people. We would see the manifestation of the divine through the human. That's the only way we can encounter the divine and have any semblance of understanding of what's going on. So God has to condescend to our level. So you want to encounter God, then it, according to Scripture, through Scripture. You need to read, and you need to, I'm telling you what you need to do. But, I mean, he's found in the Gospels. And
yeah. I mean, I definitely have. I mean, I have been reading, and I've been, trying to understand and see whether Jesus is the type of person that I want to, that I would want to love and fall in love with. But there are things he does that I find that, I mean, I guess this is
like
using
what?
that the atheistic morality that I find I find questionable and hard to
like
understand whether well, for example, when he cures is it John, where he cures the blind man from birth.
Yeah, John 9.
And I'm thinking, why would he have someone born blind, and the potential, the difficulties in education, getting a job, the harshness of life would be when you're blind, to then cure him later, just to cure him to. I mean, I know some Bible readings say for the glory of God, to cure him for the glory of God. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't he say just walk past him and tell the Pharisees, I purposely didn't make that, I cured that person blind from birth, so he didn't have to suffer. That's the glory of God.
Or to prove who Jesus is. Because there had been no sickness, there had been nothing there, no problems, then we would ask the question, well, why did he have to even calm the storm? If God is all that loving, maybe that guy could turn his camera, just thing down, looking at you here. I'll just click that. If a storm causes a problem, well, if he's all that loving from the beginning, why did he even let a storm go? Why did he let that donkey kick that guy in the rib and break his rib? Why did he do that? Why did he allow that guy to stub his toe and fall and hit his head in the rock, and he's out of work for 2 days, and he loses his job? Why all these things? Where are we going to stop asking the question? Why did he not just have that blind man be born sighted? Well, then there'll be nobody to heal and prove who he was. But also think about this by analogy. I don't know how old your kids are. I'm assuming they're kind of young. And, they might have the age mentality of. I'm careful about talking about your kids. I'm sure they're great kids. I love to meet them. I love kids.
Yeah, they're 11 and 7.
Oh, cool. That's a good age. So you could tell them things about adulthood that they're going to stare at you and have like this and have no understanding of what you're talking about, right? But there's a greater good and a greater something later that they can't understand. I believe that's part of the case with the man born blind. There he is, entering eternity after he dies. He's the one that we're going to go talk to. Are you the guy? Are you the guy that Jesus healed back 2,000? Yeah, I'm the guy. And the first thing I saw was Jesus. That's awesome. So he wouldn't have had that if he hadn't been born blind. I mean, where do we want to draw the line of what really is good? Because if God is real, the greatest good is him. And if he could be, I could see him in eternity saying to you, to me, if we're both there, hopefully you'll get saved, you'll say, it was worth it. It was okay because it brought glory to my Lord Jesus Christ. He healed me. I would do it again.
Yeah, see? I mean, and I agree. I mean, that's the type of love that I guess I would want to show or appreciate, because that's the other thing I'm struggling with is the vicarious atonement. I mean, I find it. I mean, I wouldn't want Jesus to die for me. I mean, I find it hard to. Yeah.
Let's say my wife and I come visit Australia, which is what I want to do. I want to come visit Australia. And I'm over your house, and you're a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. My wife's, she's, nice, and you're just wondering why she'd marry me because it doesn't make any sense, but that's okay. And we're talking, and I accidentally, or on purpose, you don't know, break a lamp that belongs to you, right? And you're a nice guy, and you say, Matt, I forgive you for breaking the lamp. Give me $10 for that lamp. Is that true forgiveness?
Well, no. I mean,
okay. No.
I certainly have been to really thinking
Let me show you.
What is forgiveness, but I wouldn't want you to pay for it. I'd say no, I'd pay for it.
Okay. Well, that's just it. You jumped ahead, but if you were to ask my wife to pay for it and you'd forgiven me, that's not true forgiveness. So who's left to pay? You, right? Who is my offense against? You. Who forgave? You. Who pays? You. When we sin, who do we sin against? God. Who forgives? God. Who pays? God. That's the vicarious atonement.
I know. But do you think we have a choice? I mean, do you think we could have a choice to say, I mean, is it possible that someone could love God or love Jesus so much that they do not want him to die for him? They would rather take their own punishment and go to hell. Is that possible? That a human would do that?
I don't know if it's possible. Maybe. I would find somebody have their own motives and thoughts. But the thing is, that's the only way. That's the only way. Because, and I have an article on CARM, it's aimed at the Muslims. Why does God have to be the one? Why, you stupid Christians? Well, the law of God, if God ignores the law, his own law, then he's unrighteous. But the law needs to be satisfied. The soul that sins will die, Ezekiel 18:4. Your sin separates you from God, Isaiah 59:2. The wages of sin is death, Romans 6:23. So if you break a law, there's a consequence. Well, the consequence for you and me is eternal separation from God. Now, if I were to beat your house, and I would never do this, but if I were to slap you upside the head, you might say, what was that for? You might take a slap back at me, and we go out and have a beer together and barbecue some shrimp, which would be cool. But if I were to slap the president in the face, the same act gets a different result, and it's a felony. Go to jail. We go up the chain to the infinite God of the universe, then there's an infinite consequence. That law breaking, don't lie, don't steal, and we lie, we steal, means that there's an infinite consequence. There's a consequence that has to be paid because we've offended the infinite God. There's no one left to take that. Debts can be transferred, and I can give you the verses. Sin is a legal debt, and our legal debt was transferred to Jesus, because legal debts can be transferred. Legal debts can be transferred. It's really important. It would transfer to Jesus, and then he paid the price, or he satisfied the requirements of the law, because I break your lamp, you paid, right? Because he had to do it himself. He forgave, he pays. Our sin debt's transferred to him, he dies with it. By receiving that, what you're doing is you're saying you're trusting in what God did not what you do. That is the gospel message, and that is what makes us born again, or that's concomitant with being born again, the change in us. And we then go serve God. And let me warn you, though. Let me warn you. Being an atheist is a cakewalk compared to being a Christian. Being a Christian is a lot harder. And I'm not just saying it. It is. I used to be an agnostic. Wasn't any big deal. Being a Christian is extremely difficult. Not because you have all these laws to follow, but because God deals with your own heart. And a lot of times you have to fess up, admit things, do things that are tough, be sacrificial when you don't want to be. In other words, not be what I really want to be, my selfish self, my selfish, arrogant, prideful self. And God calls us to live a forthright life that sometimes can be very costly. And it has cost me a great deal. But nevertheless, if you want to be a Christian, you need to study who Jesus is. He's the Christian. And if you have more questions about his behavior, his teachings, ask me. And if I don't have an answer, I would like to research it and get you one.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think that's it for now. I mean, I guess it still feels, I still struggle with the fact that someone has to die for the sins that I've committed. And I find that I wouldn't want another human being to die for me. So I find it hard to let Jesus die for me.
That's okay. Because it just means you have a sense of justice, and that you don't want anybody else to.
I'm an atheist, so I don't quite get where that justice comes from. That's all.
Well, if you could see the text, I could talk about where it came from. We've got other callers, people who want to talk, but see the link.
Yeah, yeah, I see it.
Why did Jesus have to die for our sins? Go check that out and see if it helps. And I would love to continue to talk to you. And I tried to lay this out logically with Scripture to have it make sense.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I'm a big fan of your show. It is really helped my thinking a lot. So.
Which show? My radio show or this show?
Oh, this show.
Okay.
It's hard to get your radio show in Australia.
I get callers from Australia, just so you know.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll try and hook up sometime.
Okay, Joe. Sounds good, man.
Okay, yeah, okay. We've got an interesting discussion going on in the chat here as far as about a category mistake or what happened to you, Matt? There you there you are. As far as, is it a category mistake to try to get physical proof for God?
There may or may not be, because one of the things I don't discuss about this is, if God is going to exist in the world, can we have physical evidence for him? And the answer is yes. Jesus is the physical evidence, but they don't want to accept that. Generally what they talk about is that they want a scientific provable thing that can be repeated. You can't repeat Jesus. You can't go back into history and find him. So the manifestation of God's work would be, for example, the universal flood, the calming of a storm. There are physical evidences of God, but they are not things subject to what the atheists normally call the evidential requirement, which involves the scientific method and repeatability. That's why I generally don't go that way. I could, but I go in the issue of the transcendentals and the God who exists outside of the universe. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, because I want you to, Anthony, do you have a microphone, Anthony?
Yeah, actually I do.
Okay, why don't you go? You want to ask Matt some questions? Why don't you go ahead?
Oh, well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Generally, I've been having a discussion with John Wilkinson today, so I figured I'd drop in. He invited me here. Thank you, John.
Are you an atheist?
Yeah, I look for something with evidence. I would believe with evidence, yes.
So you're an atheist, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So, and that seems to be a problem. When given the example video that John happened to post today about tablets and a pill, and say 200 people are coming up to you with a pill saying, hey, this is aspirin, this is aspirin. Well, really, they're all arsenic, and only one is aspirin. How are you to know which one is true? So that's what we've been discussing recently.
I'm having trouble understanding you, Anthony. I'm having trouble understanding you. You're a little muffled for me.
Sorry about that. A little better?
A little better. There you go. Thanks.
Okay. Just to sum up, because I only have a few minutes that I could actually talk here.
Okay.
200 people come up to you with a tablet, a pill, and you have a headache, and they're saying, hey, this is aspirin. Well, all of them are arsenic except one is aspirin. So would you just take the word for it and take the pill? How do you know which one is the true aspirin? Pretty much the relation is, why is Christianity the true religion and all the other ones are wrong?
Oh, that's easy.
Well, in our discussion, John's answer was he would need more to test something, or apparently he would want more evidence, is how I took it. And that's pretty much where we were discussing today. There's many different areas we could talk about, but I figured we'd keep it with our recent discussion.
Yeah, well, Anthony, let's keep address Matt with the question, so this way we
I can address what he said.
Okay. How would you solve that kind of a problem if so many people are offering you a pill that one is aspirin, all you got is what they tell you as being, no, mine's aspirin, but really they're all arsenic except one.
What we have in Christianity is the person and work of Jesus Christ, who was prophesied and then fulfilled those prophecies, lived a perfect life.
But they're claims. They're just giving me the story of your story. Islam gives me their story. Buddhism gives me theirs. Hinduism gives me theirs. Why is yours right?
Anthony, maybe you might want to let me finish. Is that okay?
Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Okay. With the fulfilled prophecies, we have this account of Jesus performing many miracles, and then he died and he rose from the dead. The eyewitnesses wrote down what it is that they saw about him and what they did with him, and then they died for what they saw, not just for what they believed. What they saw, the resurrected Christ. That's different than Islam. Islam has no, as you brought up Islam has no prophecy. Islam has no miracles. The only miracle attributed to Muhammad is the Quran, and it has all kinds of problems. And I'm reading a book on that right now, written by an ex-Muslim or whoever, whatever, on the problems of the Quran. And man, there's humongous amounts that just can't be from God. So, and plus Islam is internally self-refuting. We have the personal work of Jesus. You want to say, well, they're just stories. Well, who says they're just stories? Because we have the issue of prophecy. We have the issue of the eyewitness accounts and his resurrection. We have these things which you'd have to look at. They are evidences. Whether you're going to accept them or not is another thing. Then the second thing I was going to say is it only works, let's see how to word this properly. The universe and everything in it only makes sense if you presuppose the Christian God's existence. Otherwise, ultimately, nothing else makes sense. Okay, so those would be the two generic things we could talk about if you wanted to sometime.
Okay, well, the presupposing of God is the problem. You shouldn't have to presuppose. It either is or isn't. The universe isn't obligated to make sense. It is, it does what it does, and that's it. It doesn't have to make sense to us.
Do you presuppose evolution is true?
No, I accept evolution is true based on the evidence that's been presented.
So do I. I believe that God is true based on the evidence that's presented.
There's no evidence other than stories.
There's no evidence other than what?
Other than stories in the Bible. Or
stories? So it's just a story. So if I make up a story, it's true?
No, of course not.
So it's a historical thing.
No,
so
it's not a historical thing.
The Bible's history. The Bible is a historical document. Set of documents. It's not historical?
It has history in it, but it's not a historical document.
So Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Acts are not historical accounts of events?
They are eyewitness accounts written 2,000 years ago, translated numerous times.
No, not translated numerous times into our language, translated from the original into our language, the original into Spanish, the original into German.
Regardless. Somebody's eyewitness account is not evidence.
What?
Somebody's eyewitness account is not evidence.
Okay, so then you basically painted yourself into a corner. There's nothing anybody can say because all you're going to do is presuppose there's no evidence.
No, you're incorrect in that.
You're presupposing there's no evidence.
If somebody tells me there's a car accident, I'm not going to believe there's a car accident. If I go to the corner and see two cars that have crashed together, that's evidence.
You're presupposing there's no evidence.
No, I'm not. I'm going to the corner investigating evidence.
Really? What is evidence?
Evidence is something that's testable, something that you could recreate, something that you could verify.
So there's no evidence for God. So can you test that your great-grandfather is who your great-grandfather is supposed to be?
Of course not.
Well, then why do you believe it if it's not testable?
I don't believe that. I accept that based on the evidence of facts.
Okay. So what you do is you hopscotch. You want testability unless it's something you can't verify, then you don't want testability. But when it comes to God, you want testability.
No, I want testability in anything that I accept as being true. I don't believe things in the past. Belief is for the future. I believe my son's going to be successful when he grows up because of the examples he set as he's grown to the age he is now. In the past, I want something to know, not believe.
Okay, are you the same person you were yesterday? Or were you made 5 minutes ago?
Not.
Or were you made 5 minutes ago and with all your memories put in place?
Absolutely not. Every day I hope to improve myself.
So you don't know which one is the truth, do you?
I'm sorry, I missed your question. Can you ask that again?
You want testability. Can you test and prove you were the same person you were yesterday, you're the same consciousness, the same thing, and not a creation just made 5 minutes ago with all memories put in place? You want testability.
Absolutely not. In that way, we're all living in a matrix, apparently.
Oh, so you can't test it. So you just believe certain things. In other words, Anthony, Anthony, I'm trying to show you your inconsistency. You presuppose certain things that you can't validate, and I give you the evidence of the Gospels, and you just dismiss them.
Because
you just dismiss them.
Eyewitness accounts.
They're eyewitness accounts.
That's not evidence.
It's not. It is in court. It's admissible evidence in court for eyewitness accounts.
That's not evidence.
Okay, we're done.
What?
Wow. Well, maybe we could find an atheist who can actually think critically. To say that eyewitness accounts are not evidence is ludicrous. That would mean that in a court of law, no eyewitness testimony could be valid. That would mean confessions. That would mean testimonies by people who witnessed certain crimes occurring. It would mean that there would be no eyewitness evidence to be given. We don't want to find someone guilty with no evidence, do we? And eyewitness accounts are considered valid testimony and evidence for court. What Anthony wants is a testability of evidence as such kinds of things under test tubes. What he's unwittingly done is buried himself. He's painted himself into a corner. He has required scientific testable evidence, but he can't even, and this is, I'd like to talk to him, but he started just kept talking and talking, he's just arguing. The thing is, he can't even show me that the scientific method itself is true, or that it can be tested by itself without begging the question. He just assumes it's true and makes assumptions about his life. And so I can't have a conversation with someone who's irrational, who's inconsistent, who's self-contradictory, and doesn't even believe that eyewitness accounts are evidence for anything. So, you know, we just can't go anywhere.
That's his grandfather. That's an eyewitness account. They're saying that that's his grandfather, and yet he believes that. And so, yeah, it's all inconsistent. It's all it's all contradictory. So let's see, who else do we have here? See, we've got Matthew. Do you have a question today that's not about slavery or something like that, my friend?
Yeah, I didn't really have a question about slavery, but it's not exactly on the topic that we're sort of on at the moment. So if there are parameters, I'm happy to sit back and listen still.
Okay. Anyone have any questions right now?
Excuse me.
I could make some comments. I don't necessarily have direct questions. Can I be heard? Am I heard?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Are you an atheist or what?
My name is Philip. I live in Switzerland, so I never get to watch your show live because I'm 6 hours ahead of Eastern Time. But right now we're in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale. So I got to watch your last week's show live and get to watch it this week live. Also, this is really the first time that I've ever been, with the exception of about 5 minutes on a after hangout one time.
Are you an atheist?
Wait, am I an atheist?
Or what are you?
I think by the definition of what would be said in this type of format here, what I've listened to, probably a soft atheist. I mean, in other words, I don't deny that there could be a creator of the universe. I think that if I was not an atheist, I mean, I don't identify myself as an atheist. If a man on the street walked up to me and said, you know, what do you believe? I would say, you know, sure, there could be a creator of the universe. And I think my line of thinking would be more along sort of a deist sense, or how Einstein described how he saw what God might be, you know, walking into a library and looking at books and having this feeling, well, somebody wrote those books, but my ability to understand them is pretty far removed. I mean, sort of this understanding that you can never understand it. Sort of depicted maybe in Michelangelo's painting of David reaching out to touch God, and there's always this gap, you know, between the fingers. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if you want me to make more comments about what.
Well, do you have a question?
Well, one of the things I would like to do is make comments of what my impression is about the way that I experience Christianity. And when I say Christianity, I will say your denomination, or however you want to call it, Calvinist or fundamental. I don't know. How would you describe your Christianity? You're a Calvinist?
I'm a Calvinist, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so I'd like to make just comments of what my impression of what my sense of what I get. And first I would like to say that in my everyday life, I interact with Christians all the time without any sort of contention. And of course, probably from your point of view, you would say that many of these people aren't Christians. I mean, they identify themselves as Christians, and it's really not an issue. It's not something that we talk about. Or if we do talk about it, we sort of, you know, share our experiences and whatever. My daughter has been going to a Christian family twice a week since she was 2. She's 8 now. And anyway, I guess what I'm saying is that as an atheist, when I hear you talk about sort of atheist in a broad category, I say, wow, I don't experience that at all. I mean, there's gratefulness, there's a sense of community, there's sharing. I mean, there's quote family values and this and that. Anyway, so I'll get to my point. I think the way that I experience this is that, like, take presuppositionalism. The first time that I ever heard the presuppositional argument, I was really intrigued by it. And my first response was that this conversation is really not between the Christian and the atheist, it's between the Christian and Scripture. I mean, in other words, the whole argument is just, it's a conversation between the believer and the, quote, Word of God, meaning what you would find in the Bible. And the impression that I get is that if you are willing to make that leap, whether from a conversion type of experience or from whatever, being convinced, you know, having people share or witness to you, so to speak, that if you can dive into that wholeheartedly and fully, I think that psychologically it can completely transform your life. And the way that I would analogize it would be to use the word indoctrination in a benign sense. And what I mean is, I feel like if I look at my life, I guess you can still hear me, Matt.
Yes, I can. I'm listening. I moved something.
Okay. If I look at my own life, I'm also a musician, and I've known quite a few musicians and read a lot about music, read a lot about children learning music. When I think about things like music and language, you have to be indoctrinated into music. You have to listen to it all the time. You have to study it. You have to understand how it's put together. You have to interact with it so often.
I don't exactly know where you're getting with this. I want to see if anyone has any questions here. Do you want to like kind of summarize basically what you're?
Yeah. So I'll try to wrap it up really quickly.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that once you indoctrinate yourself into music and you immerse yourself in it, you cannot get out of it. I mean, in other words, you basically train your mind. When I listen to music now, I hear the structure, I hear the harmonies, I hear the voice leading, I hear the counterpoint, I hear all of the different instruments. If my wife would just enjoy the music, to me, I can't, because I've been indoctrinated. I can't escape it. And in a
You're saying
way,
because Christians are indoctrinated, we can't escape the idea of believing in God, and so therefore it's just an issue of indoctrination and not truth?
No, I'm not stating this as a fact. What I'm trying to do is share my experience of my own experience in life, and what I tend to do is say, is it possible that this is what's actually happening? I'm not making a hard statement saying, I know this is true, and there's no way around it. I'm merely stating the impression that I get. The same way with language, having learned a second language.
Can you? Okay.
You know what? Yeah, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to see where you were going with that. It's not really going much anywhere. Who do we got in here who has questions here? And actually, guys, if you're if you're not gonna ask a question, if you could take off so we can get more people in here, I'd appreciate it, because I believe we're filled up now. Got rid of a few people, but.
Well, I could ask a simple question if you want me to.
Okay.
Okay. I watched a video by Eric Hovind, and he was talking about how science and evolution is basically a religion. He was talking to some children and some teenagers, and he was giving a presentation, and he was showing the sizes of different planets and stars to show sort of how amazing and huge the universe is. And it occurred to me while he was talking, I thought, well, Eric, you can't have it both ways. I mean, you can't say that none of this is sort of, quote, true or really works. You can't say that this star is that size, this huge star that's...
Do you have a question? I mean, you said you had a question.
So the question would be, it seems to me that often it's science and things like evolution are misrepresented in this regard. Speaking of the size of the planet.
So what's your question?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
So my question is, why does this seem like a prevalent tactic? Like, why do Christians have to reject so much of the science that we see around us, the age of the Earth, the size of the universe? Why can't it be?
Okay. Yeah, we're done. Well, you want to ask a question. You gotta ask a question. We need to make room for more people here. So
can I make he finally did ask a question after, how long was that? 10 minutes?
Did he? I don't know. I'm doing.
Why do Christians reject so much of science?
Okay. Well, you want to answer that?
Which Christians, which aspects of so-called science? Give me some specifics so we can talk about particular issues. If you think that Christians reject science, well, yes and no. I reject the idea that we got here by evolution. I don't consider that to be proper science, but I love the scientific method. I use it a lot when I'm doing various things. So the question isn't really that well formed, but it's like saying, why do atheists reject so much truth?
Mm-hmm.
It's just not really a well-formed question in that sense, I would say.
Yeah, and I didn't think that was really just gonna continue to run on here, and I want to make room for some more people here, because I'm missing a monitor, so I'm trying to do all my stuff on one monitor. It's kind of weird. Okay. So any more questions? Sorry, Matt, I'm a little new at this.
Hey, it's all right. You're doing great, man.
My friend, but a Mormonism question. Slash, do you have you got a microphone?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey, Matt Slick. How are you?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
Pretty good. I'll be less long-winded. The Greek, John 1:1.
Yeah.
How do Mormons get around that? I'm just wondering because I don't know Greek. Do they put an A before theos?
No.
They just insert it in there, or they infer it out? Or?
No. The JST, the Joseph Smith translation, see if I can find it really fast. I'll read it. Read what he said in it. I've got it here on my shelf. Of John 1:1, it's rather enlightening. I don't know if I can find it really quickly. I'm looking. Darn it. You can see me over here by my things. But what he did with it was he just really destroyed the actual verse and what it actually said. But no, they don't do the Jehovah's Witness trick. I got the JST someplace.
Oh, Jehovah's Witnesses insert the A. Not Mormons?
Yeah, the J-Dubs do that, not the Mormons.
Oh,
okay? The Jehovah's Witnesses do that. And it's called the indefinite article. A is the indefinite article. The is the definite article. And Greek has a definite article. It does not have an indefinite article. And so, about the Mormons, that verse is a challenge to the Mormons because it doesn't agree with their idea that God is eternal. Or, excuse me, it doesn't agree with the biblical. Mormonism doesn't agree with the biblical idea that God is eternal. So in the beginning, Jesus was with God. He was God. But you can't have that because he had to become a God. So it doesn't make sense to them. As far as the Jehovah's Witnesses go, I don't go to John 1:1 because they're so prepped for it. I go to different verses and just talk, generally talk. But you can say, you can say to them, so Jesus is a God? Yes. So you believe in two gods? No, he said Jesus is a God the way Moses was a God. Moses was a God? Yeah, you go to Deuteronomy, I think it is. I'll make you a God to Pharaoh. Oh, so was God really actually making Moses really a God? Well, no, making like God. So wasn't a really God? No. So what do you say about Jesus? He's not really a God? Well, no, but you call him a God. You see, you can do that with him, but, there's other things you can say and get them.
It's interesting how much heresies can just spin off of bad literary criticism.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
And it happens in Christian circles as well.
Right. It's just bad interpreting figures as figures, literal reference as literal reference, and they just run with them. And then if you correct them on a figure or correct them on a literal referent, they throw the baby out with the bathwater and want to make the whole exegetical process subjective. And it's just like you got to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Now, look, your problem obviously is you're too logical and sensible. So we obviously aren't going to have much fun talking to you because
nothing in excess. 1 + 1 = 5. There we go.
Okay. Or call him a liar. You can do that too.
Yeah, just call me a liar. It's a new thing now. Not a new thing, but it's
you're not. Anytime Matt Slick says something, say no. You're wrong.
That's right. So you're an atheist.
No, what's that famous one you have? Blue sleeps faster than Wednesday or something?
Yes.
That makes perfect sense to me. Yes. You win. I surrender.
I don't know, because I've heard you a lot deal with people that have varying interpretations, which is inevitable. That's going to happen. But it's just like when you start digging a little deeper to the 4th and 5th levels for pro and con for why they have this interpretation as opposed to what seems to be the right one, it just seems like bad literary criticism. Interpreting a figure as a figure and a literal referent as a literal referent. It's just
referent.
I don't see why they go down the slippery slope and throw out all the whole exegetical process just because you got to be corrected on one figure. It's just like...
Yeah. Well, they're brainwashed, and they don't have the mind of Christ, so that's what it is.
Like the verses against homosexuality in Romans 1 is obviously a figure of speech, right?
Yeah. All right, bro.
Okay. We have, let's see, Jason was saying he has a question about homosexuals. Jason, you got a mic there? Jason, paging Jason. Wake
Excuse
up.
me. Whoa.
Matt Slick is falling asleep. Please hurry with your question. Right now on the Bible Thumping Wingnut Hangout. Okay. I guess not. Who has a question? Hurry, hurry. Step right up and ask Matt Slick a question. I'm scaring the poor guy. Vladimir, you got a question?
Before I even, let's see, Melissa, seen these Google Hangouts, I had a totally different picture in my head of Matt Slick and what he's like. I like him more now that I got to the. Thanks, Melissa. Now I'm curious. If you want to get to the mic, tell me what did you think? What impression did you have?
Yeah, come on to the mic, Melissa. Come on. Oh, you know what? Really quick, Matt. I want you to because I have a link where you can go directly to your let's see if I got it right here to listen to your radio show. But that's no good for people who are listening to this if it's like in podcast form. Is there a easy way to go to actually iTunes? We need to mention iTunes. Because I listen to it on iTunes the majority of the time. So people, you can go to iTunes and you can listen to Matt Slick live. You can listen to his daily radio show. It's about, I think, a week behind or
usually,
something.
Right.
Yeah, usually about a week behind. So if you want to listen to his show, no matter where you are in the world, you can go to, you can just look him up on iTunes and you can get it podcast form there. Looks like we got Jason. Jason's ready to answer question or ask a question here. You're on, Jason. Wait. Actually, I'm just hearing scratches. Yeah, Jason, you're coming up, but you're just kind of scratchy.
He's scratching his head.
Man. No, Jay, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Melissa, get on the. You got a mic?
Come on, Melissa. How old do I look to you, Melissa? You said you thought I was a young hotshot guy, and I want to grow a beard or a goatee, but my wife doesn't like kissing me with that. So if I have a goatee, no smooching. Goatee's gone.
Yeah, that's the same with me too, man. I got rid of my little thing here because even down here, I try to move it out of the way and.
Yeah, what's with these women,
Yeah.
It's just stubbly hair, that's all.
Yeah, just something that sticks you in the face. Wait, Jason, I'm going to mute you, Jason. You're getting to, no, Melissa, let's see, you're unmuted. Yeah. According to this, you're unmuted, Melissa, but no, we can't hear you. Man, we're doing bad with the microphones. This is the second one in a row. No, I'm not hearing anything. Matt Slick is tired once again.
I don't know what it is. All of a sudden, just yawning.
Oh, did you see the Minions movie, sir?
Yes.
I did not see your rating. Did you put it on the site yet? I checked a couple days ago.
I got to review it. I saw it. It was good. It was entertaining, but I forgot to do a review because I had so many people over. But I'm going to go see Ant-Man tonight.
Oh, I don't like you. I am so broke. I can't see the Ant-Man. I don't want to hear about it.
Get this. I'm going to go see 3D, and if I do a review, CARM reimburses me for the ticket.
Oh, hey, cool. That's even worse. I don't like you anymore.
What do you think of my reviews? I mean, they're not stellar or anything. I mean,
I didn't even. I knew you did a few here and there. I didn't know where they were at until you told me I think it was last week. And then I went on there to look for the Minions one, and I didn't find nothing. So
yeah,
it wasn't there. But no, actually, I did read a couple. I can't remember. I can't remember offhand what which ones I read, but.
Yeah, sometimes I have fun writing them. But at any rate, I judge a movie by explosions and car chases and fights and things like that. And as I talked about, my wife likes what I call talking movies. That's where you pay to go watch people talk to each other.
Is that this one?
Oh wait, we're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Oh, did they hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, good. Oh yeah. I've been listening for over like weeks and things. Well, I thought I used to go CARM.org, and I liked it because it gave me things to show people. But then I was thinking you're some young guy, maybe like 25 or something. I had no idea who you were. I was like, I don't know anything about you, so now I
How old do you think I am?
Oh, now probably about 40 something.
Oh, not bad. No, I'm 58.
Oh, okay. Well, you
Yeah.
still look pretty young.
Yeah, and I'm also really immature, so that kind of helps.
Yeah, me too. I took a long time to mature. I'm 34 right now.
Okay. Cool. Do you have a question?
Oh no, I couldn't think of anything. I just wanted to talk to you guys.
You're a Christian, right?
Yeah, I'm Christian. I have a radio show too, but I don't know if you want me to say it.
Say it, Melissa. Why not?
It's Truth Be Told Radio. It's on Blog Talk Radio. Andrew Rappaport says Blog Talk Radio is bad, but for me it's good because.
Well, it's the quality is
yeah, maybe yeah.
Issue, but you know what? If it's cheap and if it works for you, do it. Why not? Hey.
It's good because usually people would have to have like a microphone. They'd have to have their own studio, and it gives you a virtual studio. I used to do radio in community college, so I know a little bit about it.
Cool.
How it works.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wanted to get you on here too because we've been Facebook friends for I think 3 years now.
Oh,
we haven't really talked.
Yeah, because I got so many on my wall and everything. My group, but like not everybody I talk to. But I always, I do posts and things. So sometimes I see people's things. There's a lot of people you just see more of, like usually I think.
Yeah.
So what's your name on there? I forgot.
John Brady. John, put it in gear.
John Brady. I think you're funny with your voiceovers.
Oh, thanks.
Like
well,
that.
Maybe if I get set back up, I'm moving to suburban Chicago the end of next month. Maybe I'll do some voiceovers for your radio show.
Yeah. Do you Reformed theology?
Yes. I will. I think I listened to your show. I think I listened to your show once a while ago. I totally forgot you had one though. I'm glad you.
I'm sorry. I'm looking for somebody to help me out because usually it's just me, and it'd be nice to have like a co-host. I don't know if anybody out there that's Christian,
well, see, I'm doing this. That's all I can do to do this. And then once Audacity comes out, I'm going to be out and about.
I watched that already. Audacity.
Yeah, that's good. Well, this is supposed to be with Matt Slick, so we better let Matt talk. Who else?
Sorry.
It's fine. Hey, I don't mind. No big deal.
Matt Slick show.
It's with I've been practicing Matt Slick. Different ways of saying Matt Slick. There's Matt Slick. There's Matt Slick. I can't do it. My voice isn't warmed up. But yeah, that's my favorite one. Matt Slick.
So Matt,
Batman style, right? Do the Batman.
Go ahead, ask.
It just shows the humor of God that like someone named Matt Slick would be apologist.
Yeah, and a minister, reverend. Yeah. People get a kick out of it. Sometimes they don't believe it's my name. When I was on the radio, we had this guy who's coming in as a Mormon. He was a Mormon. He's coming in every few days, and we were scheduling it, and we're having discussions. And one day on the radio, when I said, I'm going to introduce you again, and I did, and I forgot his name, but I introduced him, and he goes, no, just call me, and it was, like Joe Slick. And he had this smirk on his face, I went, you think Slick is a radio name, right? And he's nodding, and I show him my driver's license. His face dropped, and I go, dude, it's my real name. Now, what's your name? And he gave it a real name. It was hilarious. He's like, oh, crud.
Well, people can change their names, though, because, like, there's this one guy who changed his name to Lizard Lover or something like that, because he likes lizards.
Yeah, there's
I know a guy.
Different traffic names on the radio. There's guys like Lane Closure, and my favorite weatherman is Humidity.
Humidity.
Yeah.
I know a guy named Sandy Beach. And the Learjet company, they actually have a daughter called Crystal Shanda Lear.
I would not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sometimes names we think people pick names for people and they gotta live with that name.
Yeah.
You got to think about that stuff. Well, let's move on here. We got Vladimir. He was saying he's got a long thing here about First Thessalonians. I don't know. What's your question, Vlad? You said you had one.
So Matt, do you ever use a connection between Zechariah 14:5 and First Thessalonians 3:13 to prove the divinity of Christ, namely that He is Yahweh?
I guess not, since I'm not familiar with it. Isaiah 40. Wait, that's starting to ring a bell, though. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, because it says at the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ with all His saints, and then in Zechariah 14:5 it says, Yahweh my God shall come and all His saints with Him. So it's quite a good verse to prove that Jesus is Yahweh. Unitarians and Socinians can't really wiggle out of it. So
good stuff,
I just wanted to ask you if you ever use it.
Well, you know what? No, I don't, because I forget. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. There's so many things that, oh yeah, I could use it this time or that time. I just kind of forget. If I don't use it a few times right away, then they kind of fall away. You know, I've got a lot of different techniques I use, but I'm going to write that down, see if I can familiarize myself with it more. Isaiah 40 verse 5 and Zechariah 14:5 with what?
No. I said First Thessalonians 3:13 with Zechariah 14:5.
Okay, with Zechariah 14. Gotcha. All right. I don't know what that was. Okay, good. Yeah, no sweat, man. Yeah, I thought you were actually talking about something different when crying in the wilderness, but.
Oh, that's a good one too. You know.
Oh yeah.
That Yahweh is Jesus.
Yeah, you'll feed them out, and the Lord God will come, and the Holy One's with Him. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll see, because usually, if I can think of a way that the opponent can get out of it kind of easily, even though if it doesn't make sense, but it's difficult to refute because there's some ambiguity in some things, then I generally stay away from them. But I'll check it out. To make something more solid. I appreciate that.
Okay,
I always love to hear new ideas.
Jason here who said he wants to try the mic again. So, give it unmute yourself, my friend, and let's wait. I might need to do that. Okay, you are unmuted, Jason. Please speak to Matt Slick. What was that? Okay. Wait a second. Okay, I'm not hearing anything.
Can you hear me at all?
Oh, there we go.
Now we do. Yep.
There
now
we
hear you.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Hear me at all?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Hear me at all? I can't, man. I'm sorry.
Okay. Can you hear us now? Now we can hear you, but you can't hear us.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? This sounds like a Verizon.
All right, just checking. I've never been on a Google Hangout before, so I don't know how these settings work.
It's okay. Takes a little time. The first time's the roughest. That's all right.
I can hear Slick's voice in the background. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, there's a huge lag. There's a huge lag, yeah.
So I had a question about homosexual law.
Homosexual what?
Law. Okay. Why don't you type the question? Type the question in there for Matt.
Okay.
And, John, you're gonna be next.
I had a question about theonomy.
Okay.
Guys, is it just him that's lagging, or is it the entire Hangout?
No, I
Just
think
him.
I think it's him. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see here. Okay, John, why don't you? Yeah, he went out. John, why don't you ask your question that you want to ask?
Hey, Matt. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Good. I was the one that called you maybe about a week and a half ago or so.
On the radio? Maybe we're...
Okay. Are we having some weird? We're having some weird problem here. John, are you there, John?
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you said you're the one who called him. Did you call him on the radio show? Where'd you call him? And then that was it.
Yeah, and also I called him at his office. But anyway.
Okay. Do you have a question?
The worship.
Or type it
Yeah,
out?
I do. Concerning. Oh man. You know what? It's going to be too long, so don't worry about it.
Now I hear you. Now you're fine. Go for it.
So anyway, my pastor read your review about the Jesus calling.
Yes.
And so basically, he had his own little rebuttal about it.
He had what?
Long, so I don't want to take up.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's things are way too goofy with the connection here. It's a basically I think what he said was his pastor had a rebuttal to your review.
I'd love to read that.
It's on the link right now on the chat.
Oh, that link? Wait, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Oh, he posted it.
It keeps going all over the place. I can't click on it. There we go. Click.
Yeah, I know.
Book review on Jesus Calling by Matt Slick. Jesus Calling released during the same year. Yeah. Sarah says readings are not inspired. Yeah, I know she says that. Yeah, I can check it out. So he likes the book?
Okay. Yeah, he reads it as a devotion.
Does he read it in the pulpit?
No, but his wife does.
His wife reads it in the pulpit?
Well, when she is leading worship, she'll occasionally read it, and then she actually says, "This is the words of Jesus."
Yeah, somebody told me about that, and the pastor should have stopped her right there and corrected her, and he should have done that. The fact that he did not, and I talked to you before, and he did not clarify this later, from what I remember. Therefore, in my opinion, he should be under discipline from the denomination for not catching that, for not addressing that. And if there is no denomination and he's just a non-denominational independent church, the elders should be brought to him, and he needs to be disciplined by the elders for allowing such a heresy to be taught from the pulpit without being corrected. The pastor is supposed to be able to teach sound doctrine and refute error, and when his wife gets up and says what she did and says, "This is the words of Jesus," and he doesn't correct her, then he's not doing what is required as a pastor. He's blown it heavily.
Yeah. The link of your article, he highlights some of the stuff that he had issues with, and you can click on the highlighted areas, and that's where his responses are.
Well, I'm looking at it, but I don't see any highlighted areas. I don't understand. I can't read it. So all I see is my article reprinted.
Oh, crap. Should be there.
I mean, got it. I just can't see because I'm not focusing. I can't read through it to see. But I mean, I've got through that. You click that link too and see if it's the same one, and and stuff. There are it looks like just my article redone, or just
There's no highlights.
Well, there's normal bolding that I did in the article and stuff like that. 14 footnotes.
Some highlights.
And a really handsome picture of me, which is really nice because we use Photoshop to make it look. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what highlights in what colors or.
There's not enough Photoshop to make you look handsome.
He's back.
He comes in swinging.
Well, I don't know if I don't know how interested Matt is in this, but if you save that if it's highlighted, then you save it as a PDF and send it to him. That would be better because it would actually save the formatting better on PDF.
Yeah, or if it's a Word document, has edits in it, whatever, send it to me. But yeah, I'd be glad to take that. And because it's his writing, I would like to maybe have the right to reprint what he said and respond in back. Because he's making a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, then I'll see what I can do. Thanks.
Hey Matt, it sounds like it might be a good break point for to take the Google Hangout off being live and just do the after show.
Sure.
Which allows folks to come in and continue to chat with you, but.
See Vladimir's debate challenge?
Wait, I did not.
Challenge Matt to a debate. Topic: would Matt look better with a beard?
The more you cover Matt's face, the better he would look.
Well, how gray would that beard be? What is the percentage of the gray, or would you use
Oh, my beard! I've grown one, and just comes in, and it comes in gray, really gray. So my wife wanted me to color it, and I'm coloring it. I'm like, come on, hon, I don't care.
Matt would be a very good imam, don't you guys think? Like Shabir Ali, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna take us off of being live, and we'll just be able to continue. Let's see, how do I get us off?
So, following presentation has been brought to you by Bible Thumping Wingnut. Thank you.
So basically, the YouTube video ended with Matt being proclaimed to be an imam.
No.
We haven't ended yet.
He can't figure out how to shut it off. That's why he's going, 8 minutes early, because it takes about 8 minutes. I don't even know how to shut the thing off.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to shut it off without actually leaving.
Yeah, because you can shut it off.
Matt, don't eat that microphone.
Matt's breaking things. It's all his fault.
I'm waiting for you guys.
Well, you could be waiting a long time if we can't figure this out.
Yeah, it's no big deal. Anybody else want to make comments or questions or anything?
I may have to leave and come back in.
Do you have a picture of you with a beard?
Yeah, there's one out there. I look pretty doofusy. It actually started when a girlfriend of a guy, they just got married and he had a beard, and we got to talk. I mocked his beard. I mean, he's a great guy. It's all in fun. And she said, "At least my man can grow one." And everyone went, "Ooh!" And so I'm laughing, and I said, "Okay, it's on." And I grew a beard, and I had it for a little while.
I still don't believe that you can do it. I think we need to.
You need to see it
by the CARM. Let's see if you can grow one starting from now to the CARM 20th anniversary.
Oh, there's no way that's happening. I mean, I could, but yeah.
You claim that you could, but let's see evidence of this.
Yeah, that's right. Get this. When I shave, I don't use anything other than water. I just wet my beard, let it sit for a minute, and then shave. If you got a clean razor, it's no big deal. And so I don't. Anyway, and to grow a beard. To see anything takes a full 24 hours just to begin to see stuff. It's a slow-growing beard. Christian armor repair automobiles.
End it here. What I guess I'll do is I will leave the call. I think that will end it. I don't know why there's not an end call here, but
there should be something there.
There should be a thing that says, stop feeding live on on the control room.
Yeah, the problem that I see is that I see a picture. You know, like someone took a picture early on,
Guys,
and
we are currently going live, and no one knows how to shut it off. It'll look great in a video.
it will be. It'll be excellent. All right, I'll leave, and I hope that doesn't kick everyone out. It shouldn't. But have a good night if not.
Let's see if it'll.
Oh, here we go. End broadcast.